Hello, hello. So the first thing you realize when you play this variant is that there are four of these bishops on each side, but well, we don't actually call them bishops. So we have our pieces, but all the pieces obviously they look like regular chess pieces, but they're not supposed to be regular chess pieces, right? So we have our W for workers, which is your pawns, which are placed at the same spot on the second rank, right? And then the one step above the pawns slash workers are your M4 managers. So you see the bishops, they're not actually bishops, they're actually supposed to be managers. And then the one step above the manager is S for overseer, which are the rooks on the corners. And finally, you have the L for overlord, which is the most powerful piece, which is the queen here. And of course, the king is not actually the king, but the boss, right? Because this is corporate chess. And I did steal this exact terminology from Dial game, but let's not talk about that. But these are basically supposed to represent the corporate hierarchy, right? You got your CEO here, you got your upper middle management, and you got your ordinary worker who, which I will explain later, will be very well. They don't have much of a purpose in this apart from being sacrificed and literally being used as a human shield. So it's not a good time to be a worker in this economy, as I'm sure you all know. So let's start with the movement for each piece, right? So for the workers, you can move forward. So if you're starting from the second rank, you can move two step forwards like regular chess. You can also obviously move one step forwards. But the difference is that you can move forwards and then you can move back. That's different from regular chess because like pawns are supposed to be soldiers, right? So if the general tells you to advance, you are not going to retreat, right? That's how regular chess logic works. But in corporate chess, you're a worker and you're supposed to be working for this company, but that doesn't mean you can't retreat, right? So you could go one step forwards, you can still go one step back, right? Sorry, like you could start off going two square forwards. You could go forwards or you could go back. Although you can't go two step forwards here. That's illegal because that's not how regular chess works either. And I'm also going to show you something which is that so let's say you play e4 and the opponent plays e5, which you think this is a regular chess opening, but it's actually very terrible. Why? Because you just hang a pawn. Because well, you hang a worker. Because in this variant, workers they do not capture diagonally; they capture forwards. So if you have a pawn here or a worker here, and then you take this, you're just down one. And the thing about um, taking these workers is that you could actually hire them. So, for example, let's play whatever move, right? And then let's say that you can't actually place down anything right now because you can only place it down if um, a file is unoccupied, right? So you captured one of your opponent's workers. You can now turn that into one of your own workers, but you can't do that here because everything is occupied. So let's suppose that for some reason this is gone, right? Then you could spend your turn to just respawn that worker right there. The thing though is that you can only spawn it on the second rank. You can't just go and spawn it like right here. You can't do that. No. So that's how spawning works. And you can only spawn one at a time. You can only spawn on the second rank, and you can only spawn if you've taken an opponent's worker piece. Okay. And now let's talk about the movement of the other pieces. Let's clear the board completely empty. Let's give the manager, which is the main piece that you'll be using. This is your like lower middle management, more important than workers, but not completely powerful. As you can see, they move one square diagonally normally. Like this is not a bishop. You cannot go all the way across the board. You can't do that. So you can only move one square diagonally. And here's the thing though. So there's the part that's kind of like checkers, except kind of not. So basically, say that you have your manager here and you have a worker here. So in regular chess, this is like blocking the bishop. In corporate chess, what you're supposed to do is you're actually sacrificing this worker right here to basically move like a bishop in this direction. Like this worker is basically supposed to be like sacrifice fuel for this manager to move and to be more powerful. So you can move this all the way to here, but this worker dies. And you cannot respawn it because you can only respawn your opponent's captured workers. If you kill your own worker, that is, you cannot respawn that. But you can basically, that's the only way you move super far away, is just by sacrificing your own worker forever. So usually it's not worth it unless it gives you some type of short advantage, which is why most of the time you'll just be shuffling this. You can't do that. That's an illegal move. You can do this and then this. You're gonna be shuffling this around. And that's the thing about this game, right? You can only move far away if you sacrifice one of your workers. You cannot move rapidly like in regular chess. The whole game is just involving shuffling these pieces around and around. That's the wrong spot. But that's kind of like real life. In real life, there is no devastating attack you do. It is just a lot of grinding, a lot of moving these around, which is also why this game is arguably a little boring and a little annoying, but let's ignore that. Okay, so okay, no, not the black pieces. Let's show you how the overseer works. So this looks like a rook, and you can move one step in uh I don't know what that word is called, but in a straight direction. Orthographically? I don't know, but either way, you can move it in one direction, left, up, down, right. Um, and again, you have to sacrifice your own worker piece if you want to get very far. Like you could go all that's an accident. You could all go all the way here, but this piece will die, right? And you can go like this, right? And then you can jump all the way here, but this piece will die. So that's how it works. This piece is in the corner. It's kind of blocked off. It's not that useful in the beginning, but it's gonna be very powerful at the end just because like a rook movement is very useful in a way that bishop movements isn't as good. Like you could jump horizontally, which is something that no other piece could really do. Well, except the overlord. We'll get to that. Um yeah, that's the overseer, which are the rooks, right? And finally you have your overlord, which is the queen. Um let's show that the regular movement is one spot in any direction. So it's like a king. And again, you can sacrifice your own worker to just move wherever you want. Like, suppose this is here, you could also move all the way here, right? Of course, you cannot go here because there is nothing in between. There's nothing to sacrifice. You cannot do this. You cannot do this either. You cannot sacrifice two pieces. You have to jump over just one of them, and obviously this dies. But you cannot do that. And if it's like this, then you can't do anything. You can't land on your own piece. So it applies in general, like it applies to this one too. You can't jump over two of your own pieces. You cannot jump over two of your own pieces in a row like this. You can't do that. And that's every movement except for um the boss slash king, and also there's a few more. So like for example, you could use your overseer to jump over your manager. Like obviously this gets sacrificed, but that's not very it's not very productive to do that, right? You can also jump over any of these with your overlord. Like you could sacrifice one step up below you, basically, but that's kind of pointless. Also, you're just wasting your own pieces. And the boss slash king also moves like a king, so it's the same as this, but there is one difference, being that you can sacrifice any of your pieces to move like it for one turn, which is just again, you could jump over your own what's it called manager to sacrifice it and get your boss out of danger. You could do the same with this, right? You could do the same with the overlord, either like this, or for example, like this. Oh, I didn't mean to draw the arrow, but that's actually really helpful. But yeah, obviously this gets sacrificed after you use it. Um, these kinds of sacrifices are not very good at all. Obviously, you're just wasting your pieces again. But you do get your boss out of danger because this works the exact same way like regular chess. Like this is check. This doesn't look like check, but it is because, so you have to get your boss out of danger when there's a check. Um, you cannot spawn law in check. Like you cannot spawn a pawn because we talked about spawning pawns. You cannot spawn a pawn here during a check, but you can spawn a pawn here to block the check. And of course, there's checkmate if the king does not have anywhere to move. So, for example, you cannot move here, obviously, because pawns capture forwards. Cannot move here again. So this is checkmate. And let's play the board again. Actually, let's do the starting position because I think I've. Oh yeah, there's no castling. There is no promotion because say you get all the way on the other side. There is no promotion. It just stays a worker forever. And there is a lot of attrition because you're constantly sacrificing, you're constantly getting your pieces captured. Right by the end, you just have a bunch of random pieces remaining, and you're just have to gonna walk what each of these over to your opponent's king. You're just gonna have to walk all of these pieces over. It's gonna be unglorious. It's a fight to the death, basically. But in a way, this is like how real life kind of works. Everyone moves the same way. Everyone moves one square, just in different directions. But some of the more powerful pieces could basically just sacrifice workers for their own benefit, like that. And the workers are kind of useless. You cannot promote. You can only move forwards and backwards. Also, you cannot capture backwards. Like you can move backwards. You cannot. You cannot do this. You cannot go here. This is basically just blocked. You can only capture forwards. So yeah, if you're a worker, you're kind of screwed, and you're constantly being replaced. Like you're being used, and then you're being captured. Like, and you're capturing other people's workers and turning them into yours. But this is not this is not being revived. This is like literally just a new one being hired every single time. Kind of depressing, honestly, but that's just how the game works, and that's kind of how reality works as well. But yeah, let's set our board to starting position. Let's get rid of the knights because there's no such thing as knights in this game. No, there's no chivalry in this game. They're all managers slash bishops. Yeah. And the first thing to do, I think regular chess principles. So I am not good. I'm really bad at chess, regular chess. I don't expect myself to be really good at this anymore. Anyways, sorry, not anymore. Anyways, but I do think that as a creator, I've come up with some of the basic strategies, I guess, which is to just go d4 because the principle of taking the center still applies. You just want to force the opponent to not give any space. And I think this is d4 is slightly better than e4 just because d4 allows you to free this piece earlier, which is unlike regular chess, there's nothing wrong with just freeing it earlier. Because the opponent cannot jump across the board without sacrificing one of their own workers. Like this is not in danger at all. But obviously do not like mess up and put it here, for example, because this will be targeted. This looks like it's blocked. No, it's not. You just jump over it and you sacrifice your pawn, but you get the overlord. So do not do that. Do not put it into a piece where the opponent can just jump over and take it, obviously. That's a black queen. That's wrong. And also, so white plays d4. Do not play d5 because that looks like regular chess. You're just losing a pawn because you're losing a worker. Well, because this just moves forwards, and now the opponent can spawn in a worker on one of their empty files if they exist. So I think that you play d4 and black plays e5. I think this is probably how 90% of games are going to start, and you're just going to be shuffling your pieces to defend, right? Like, because if you want to get both of your pawns on the center square, obviously this is impossible because just take, right? Opponent just takes, so you can't do that. What you're gonna have to do is slowly march your pieces forwards. Like, because again, you cannot jump across the board without sacrificing your own worker in the way. So you have to just slowly move this once, right? The idea is to get this piece over here so that you attack this pawn. So you slowly move it over once, and the opponent's obviously not gonna let you just do that. So of course they're gonna move their piece just once, and you're gonna do it again, and obviously they've defended it now, but you're gonna counterattack anyways. Or whatever that is you want to do, and of course they will probably respond by like counter defending this or whatever, getting whatever good position. Also, just so you know, the queen/overlord could jump over this at any point. Obviously, you're not gonna do that because this just the king just takes, but um you're just gonna be slowly shuffling your pieces forwards. I mean, you could also move this one piece one block forward and just free this manager, get this to this square, and then push your pawn eventually, right? And opponent's gonna be like, well, you're gonna push yours, so I'm gonna actually maybe they'll trade, or maybe actually no, maybe they'll first not defend it like that because this piece is still worth more than the manager. Overlord's still worth more, so they're not gonna do that. But I guess they'll just trade, just open up this worker. So of course you're gonna trade, and actually no, this is stupid because you could just take it right here, but yeah, that's how this game works. It's kind of stupid, but I mean, life is kind of stupid, and in life, you're not gonna be having any kind of moves that are like all across the board, right? You're not gonna be doing impossible things. Everyone has the same ability. Like a rich person doesn't automatically have more ability than you just by being rich. Right? Obviously, it comes from the sacrifices from the people below. So it just moves one square like everyone, but it must kill its own worker in order to get anywhere. That's the logic of the game. And yeah,